Hi, everyone, and welcome to Marketing Corner, episode 37.
Hey, everyone. Hey, good to be here again.
We're in the new studio.
Yay!
Our new studio.
Cheers to Anamundo.
Yay! But there's still some moving boxes. So.
Yeah, people, just if you're watching on video and looking at the boxes, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, get a life.
Get a life.
We're having fun here. Trying to make this work.
What are you doing? What do you do?
What are you doing with your life?
Doing?
It's 6 p.m. here. We're recording. Come on, give us a break.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways, that was, to get back on track, that was not generated by AI.
That was?
But it could have been.
And it probably would have gone better.
Probably would have been better.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about AI.
We are.
Yes, we're jumping on a bandwagon and sharing our thoughts and experiences so far. I think you could talk forever about AI. Like, there's so many things. So we've actually decided to... The first one here is going to be a little bit loose, where we just talk about ChatGPT, use cases, a little bit of some of the fears and stuff. And then we're planning to do a follow-up episode where we talk other tools, because everyone talks about ChatGPT, but I have tried a lot of the other tools as well that are really cool. That potentially ChatGPT might be able to do some of them as well, but there's so much more than just that.
Yep.
So let's start with you, Jen. What have your experiences been with ChatGPT so far, or AI in general?
AI in general, I would probably say I had more experience with AI in general as opposed to ChatGPT, but I find it very helpful for speeding up tasks. So I use it a lot for targeting. We use it a lot for behavior and understanding people's behavior based on previous behavior, right? All of that is technically AI, I guess, with using data, compiling data to predict future behaviors.
Yeah.
So that obviously, I think from a marketing perspective has been really, really helpful. But also I think the dangers, and I don't know if we're jumping in there just yet, but there's something about having a lack of a human involved.
Yeah. That
sometimes I think a lot of people can find frustrating and
definitely.
So, and I think we have some fun anecdotes and maybe some not so fun anecdotes.
And let's get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to admit I've been using it a lot. Like, I actually had I posted about it on LinkedIn not too long ago, where I had a bit of a small crisis because it was down for 7 days or something, and I was like, I actually really need it, and I felt like, God, I have to do this myself again. So I've been using it a lot, and every day I feel like I explore and find new ways to do it. So I can take a few use cases just to give the people some of the ways I've been using it. So I had to, I'm working with a client on a video script, right? Writing a video script. And for me, like, video scripts, when I've done it for United FinTech in the past, for Templify in the past, it's been a dread. Like, video scripts can actually be really hard. Once, like, this is podcasting, we're having fun, storytelling, good times. But once you're doing, like, video scripts, it has to be pretty tight, right? So here I was like, okay, ChatGPT, here's my prompt. I want this, and this. Have to be told by this type of person. This is the person I'm trying to target to. These are the things I want to include. This is what the company does. I included all these different elements, and I said it had to be of 1 minute length. And then it spat out something. I was like, that's really good. And yes, it needed some tuning, and I think that's my point, and that's what I want to get to at the end of this podcast. Yes, it wasn't perfect, but it was a really good starting point.
Yeah.
And I loved that, because suddenly I had, like, what would have taken me 2 hours, 3 hours to get to, 5-10 minutes down the line, I had produced something that was useful, and then 10 minutes later, I had tuned it enough to be something that I literally sent to the client. Right. It's like, I think this is good.
Yeah.
I think this is exactly what we want. It doesn't have to be better or more than that.
Yep. And I think that's the magic of it, right? It sped up the process. You sped up the process, you got a good starting point. It just needs that human interaction, right, to add that extra element. I think, sorry, listeners, I'm struggling with a cold, so I apologize.
It's January, everyone's sick.
2 kids, man.
Yeah.
I'm on death's door over here. Anyway, but compared to how it used to be, right? Like, you used to use tools to try to generate stuff. Even when I look at things like subtitles, and I have a very funny subtitle anecdote if anyone follows me on LinkedIn. But when I used to do subtitles, it was a hot mess, right?
Absolutely.
And now it's like a tweak here and there. So, I mean, the way it's progressed in such a short time is amazing.
It's amazing.
But kind of amazing. And and then the time saved, where I used to have to take maybe a day of editing subtitles, loading, waiting for the subtitles to be generated. It usually takes about 24 hours if you use YouTube. and then I'd have to go in and change them. Now it's 5-10 minutes,
and it changed my research process in like dramatically, almost overnight. So I had to do a few HubSpot things. I do a lot of HubSpot work for some of the people I work with, and one of the things I was like, okay, what's the best practice for doing stuff XYZ? And I would just, instead of going to Google, which I would do normally, now I would just ask ChatGPT, what's the best practice for accomplishing this? I want to look at this metric and this inside of HubSpot. And it just spits out. And it's the same result I would probably find in a Google search, but now it doesn't, I don't have to pick the right article and scroll to where on the page it is and stuff. It actually spits out. And yes, it doesn't hit every time, but it hits a large amount, like portion of the time. I loved it. And I've been doing some crazy stuff too, like not called crazy stuff. Right now I'm experimenting with some, I think that's pretty crazy. I'm experimenting with building a Chrome extension. Okay. Based, and I have no idea, just heads up for everyone out there, I have no code experience whatsoever. Like, I don't know how to do that. But I found a guide of how to put in prompts that would spit out code that, based on those prompts, would spit out code that matches that you can then use to do a Chrome extension. That's crazy. So that's what I'm trying right now because I have an idea for it. You can steal this, guys. Heads up, here's my idea. So essentially, one of the things you have to do typically with HubSpot environments is that you want to copy workflows, one workflow to another workflow. Yes. It's so annoying. Like in the same instance, you can do it, but if you want to copy it from one environment to another, you can't. Okay. For some crazy reason. Hey, HubSpot, fix this. But so if, let's say, you have a client that uses XYZ and you need to build the exact same thing, you can't do that. You need to do it from scratch, which, it takes time. So I'm going to build a Chrome extension I'm working on right now, and I think I'll get there. By just using ChatGPT to build this Chrome extension that extracts it from HubSpot and pulls it over there. I would never be able to do that otherwise. Like I'm being mind blown as I do this.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, and
I'm almost like a 3D printer, but for
ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's like literally when I discovered this, I was like, "Fuck, am I really doing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing this." So
my first experience with that, especially with ChatGPT, was you sent me demand gen, it was a discussion about demand gen. Now, usually when Casper messages me, I read every word very carefully, of course. But this time I kind of skimmed it. I'm like, yeah, bro, I get it. Yeah, but demand gen, yeah, okay. But here's where I disagree with and then you're like, no, Jen, this was fully generated by AI, and I
didn't write it.
What? Because it was spot on, and it was like the stuff that we cover a lot. It was
pretty good, right?
Yeah, and it was pretty good. And
I think, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like it was 100%, it's like 90, and that's pretty good.
Well, that's still better than some people who are thought leaders on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
said it.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think that's what I get to. Like, I've been using so without jumping too much into other tools, one of the things I was really I've been not spending so much, but I spent a little bit of time on it as a passion project is. So you can integrate ChatGPT with Zapier. Everyone knows Zapier. Probably a love tool for everyone in marketing. Sometimes maybe a hate tool.
Love and hate.
But I absolutely love it. And now you can make super easy things. So I actually built some sort of small flow where what essentially it does is that it takes in. So you insert a bunch of keywords as a prompt in ChatGPT and say, hey, look at these keywords. And then it spits out based on these keywords, you asked it to, hey, come up with headlines for potential blog articles for SEO that are made for SEO. So I asked it to do that, and then it automatically puts them into my Google Sheet through Zapier. And then from the Google Sheet, I extract the headlines, and then I put it in and say, in a new prompt in ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, please go ahead and produce a brief for a copywriter about what the article should be. It should contain X, Y, Z, boom, boom, boom. Then it does that, and then based on that brief, boom, shoots it back in and shoots it over to HubSpot and shoots in as a LinkedIn prompt, as a social prompt. So it writes a social post about that article, and then you can either choose to have the copywriter write it or have ChatGPT write the blog article.
That's crazy.
So literally, you can. And it's not perfect yet. There's still some manual parts, but and I'm not. Yeah, as I said, I'm not an expert, but I feel like I built a automated content machine.
You have.
Like, it's like,
you have.
It's like 80% or something. It's not 90 or 100, but it's like almost. And yes, it needs some tuning and it needs some work, but you can get started.
It's a good start. And I think that's one thing if you take it as a starting point. But I think I worry that a lot of people won't, and I worry they're going to see. And this is one of the, sorry to be the old lady of the room.
No, be it.
But
we need it.
I mean, it's the role I was born to play, Casper.
Yeah.
But you know, what worries me is we are going to see an increase in just this regurgitated, because let's be honest, AI, as wonderful as it is, it's taking things that have already been done and kind of combining it and giving you the brief based on what people have written. So are we just going to regurgitate what's already been done? And is this going to reduce the amount of unique thoughts that we're going to get? It's just going to challenge us to challenge these things and go, hang on, I have a different point of view. Or is this going to turn into an echo chamber? And that's where I get a little concerned that maybe we're not going to see new ideas coming as a result.
And I totally hear you. And yes, that is a fear. So, and I get it. I think it's one of those things where it's like, if there's a tool that can be abused, it will be abused.
Yeah. This is what we talked about this in a previous episode. Marketers can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things. It's like if there's room for it to be abused, and the thing is, like, now that ChatGPT is like a thing. Like, I remember talking to a guy called Søren that I'm in like in a networking group with. He's like a SEO expert, pretty famous in the Danish market, and he was like, guys, people have been doing this for a few years. Like, we just didn't know about it. Like, now ChatGPT kind of blows it up, and of course that will blow up the scale and people will go crazy and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. The accessibility makes it a lot more common, but trust me, this has been a thing for since, I think he was saying like 17, 18. So for a few years, this has been a thing. So the real hardcore hackery types, they've been doing this for ages. This is nothing new. Yes, they get a new engine with GPT-3 and GPT-4 coming up, but there's nothing new there. Yes, it gets more accessible to the masses. But to get back to your point, I think you're right, and I think that worries me too. Like, but at the same time, there's also, it will just strengthen the point that has always been there. Original, unique content will only be stronger.
That is a very good point, and we need more of it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and if you think about it, the internet is already a trash can of shit, right? like there's so much shit out there and like so much bad content. Well, does it mean anything if there's twice as much or 3 times as much? I don't think so. Like, I don't actually think that's gonna hurt anyone. It just means like, okay, we just gotta be sure we find the good content. The unique one. Does that make sense?
It's a good chance to stand out. I just worry that there's going to be even more noise than usual. And, you know, like, I'll just, you know, when you just get overwhelmed with it, like sometimes on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, God.
Bullshit. Yeah, I'm more worried about that part, actually.
Yeah.
Like, because the whole part about, like, producing blogs, I'm not too worried about that. Because, like, let's say 100 people produce 100 blogs on the same topic automated. Well, I can only see 1 or 10 of them anyways. Like, it's not like, I'm not, like, the rest of them I don't see anyways. So the best one wins. And that wasn't different before, right? Like, that's still the same today. Like, you see the first 10 when you search on Google or whatever, but you don't see the others. So that part I'm not too worried about. But I'm worried about when people start automating posts and presence on social. That part, and especially the whole, like, what you do with video, but that's a different topic for a different day. But
don't get me started on my fears of that one.
Tool for our next talk is Synthesia. I've done some crazy stuff for that tool, but we'll get to that next time. But my point is just like once people start automating things that are really personal, because for me blog posts are, you know, I've always been like, blog posts are there to rank on Google. Like, I've said it. Like, so if that, and then it's a battle, and it just who has the bigger stick, right? Right. Where it's more like the social one that's more authentic, right?
It's more personal.
It's more personal, and you can get confused. I just hope people won't get flabbergasted by. There's a lot of content producers right now who have automated a lot with ChatGPT. I think it's super cool to do it, experiment with it. I'm just.
Be open that you're doing it, though.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Or flag it. Maybe it's one of those things where, like in Danish law, there's this thing where when there's influencers, when they do ads, they have to flag, hey, this is an ad. Maybe you can make a rule in social where, hey, this is generated by AI. Goes for pictures, goes for video, everything. Has to be a small stamp or somewhere, disclaimer, this is generated by AI. I think that would be a cool way to transition in a good way, maybe. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're just relying on people to be honest.
Yeah, which, again, can that be abused? Oh yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I think, but again, like I think it's a really good starting point, and that's something that I've used it for, to kind of, what are the thoughts on this, or what are common, and it's even like, it's not even stuff that I don't know about. It's stuff I know about, but I'm like I have to write the 18th thing about this.
Yeah.
What are people saying about this? And then you're like, okay, boom, boom, boom. Here's my structure, and then I write it. We use Quillbot a lot too.
Yeah.
And that has been a real lifesaver. Again, we would write the content, it's original content, but you can only say Internet of Things so many times.
Yeah.
You can only talk about your product in the same way so many times. And if you're on things like G2, Capterra, they all require unique content, and they scan your content and they're like, does this exist elsewhere? Yes. Sorry, you got to rewrite that. And I can't even tell you how long I've spent in previous roles rewriting product descriptions in new and exciting ways. There's only so many ways you can make certain things sound exciting.
Yeah.
So something like Quillbot really helps save some time, because you write it once and you put it in, and it gives you an alternative version that's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Compared to what, you used to use, like thesaurus.com or something like that. Like,
Absolutely.
it's a lot better, and it helps you just speed that process up.
Totally.
But you're not pretending that this is a unique thought. We're just trying to do what's asked of us.
Yeah, and I think sometimes sometimes you don't need to be unique, right? Like, no, it sounds a little bit like it's been super helpful for me, at least. I found, like, because like in the past I wouldn't need, but it was really good to have some content person at hand, and then it was like, hey, I need to like be creative around these keywords. And now it's like, hey, ChatGPT, come up with some headlines, and I'm like, yeah, those are pretty good, those are pretty shit. I'll pick this one, I'll adjust this one, good. Because that's where I can be good. I can also do the other part, but it's my brain capacity is at a limit sometimes, right? Yeah. And it just helps me, and I've been using it so much. Also to structure things. Yeah, structure, like, just like, hey, come up with a good structure for XYZ, or hey, write this email using this framework. I've been using that stuff too, like writing emails with a specific framework in mind. Amazing.
And that's super interesting. And I think also it would really help, if you're the type of person that you have a brilliant mind, but you suck at writing. Which a lot of people,
Which a lot of people do.
Yeah, your right brain versus left brain, whatever you call it. If you're like, I don't know how to put this into words, but here's my thoughts about quantum physics.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is actually what I would say if I was, so inclined. So I think, I think it's going to lead to good things. I just want us to not fuck it up like we have with LinkedIn outreach and everything else that we've ruined.
But it will be fucked up. Yeah. And we just I think this is just one of those things where, like, if somebody fucks up LinkedIn outreach, it is what it is, right? Like it is already fucked. So there's no going back there. But I think this is a little bit more dangerous, right? Yeah. Like
it's full on content. You could pass thoughts off as your own.
Like it's. But then again, I heard so this is just a precaution for everyone out there thinking, yes, I want to automate my content machine to spit out AI content. Don't do that, or just be careful, because if you think about this, like, there are literally tools right now, chat, that can identify if something was written by an AI. I literally had this guy Søren showed me the other day, and it can spot on, like, it can literally identify like every single word if this was generated by AI, using the same language model that ChatGPT uses to identify, hey, what would you say? Does this match what the AI would say here?
So a whole new cottage industry has popped up as a result.
It's a whole new industry. It's going to sell the tools and stuff. And if they can do that, those are the tools. He was like, imagine what Google can do.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think they're just sitting on their ass? They've been owning this stuff for ages. Yeah. Of course they can do this.
So maybe we're going to see part of, the Google algorithm has this been generated by AI?
I think it's already there.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think we know about it. I think it's already there. I don't want to sound like conspiracist or something, but I'm quite sure it's already there.
Yeah. So that impact upon your ranking.
Yeah, so like you get slaughtered if you do this.
Rightly so.
Yeah, and maybe someone can prove me wrong. Hey, Casper, we've been doing it and we haven't been slaughtered. Cool, love to hear about it.
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure it's just a matter of days or something before that happens.
It was interesting. I was just thinking back to my days when I worked in universities, and plagiarism was always a big issue, right? I'm not allowed to plagiarize, copy someone else's thoughts, and they had a software that you would put your paper in, when you submit a paper, it would go through this kind of software and it would flag sections that were copy pasted from other websites.
Yeah.
And that's how you would get called out on plagiarism.
Yeah.
So I imagine, I was telling you before,
something similar.
I would hate to be a college professor right about now telling new book reports, but if there's something like that, that's like, eh.
I heard this college professor, he was asked the question, this like university professor, and he was like, what are you going to do about what I'm going to do about this? What I've always done, we're just back to pen and paper.
Sit here, I'm just not going to watch you.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm so glad I'm not studying this summer.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is, right? But I think stuff like that is challenged. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think it's really interesting. I think it's an interesting time to be alive. I think one interesting point I heard from a AI professor said right now these ChatGPT and GPT-4, which is coming out very soon, which is supposedly, I think it was 100 times stronger or something, exponentially stronger, way stronger. I can't remember the exact number. But anyways, she was like, you have to remember that right now these are language models that is literally just, if you're being a little bit hypothetical maybe, it's just pulling in the entire internet. So whatever the internet is, that's what you get out in the other end.
Yeah.
So if you say something, let's put it on the test here. You say, hey, ChatGPT, is Trump a nice guy? Then it takes in the entire internet and says what the internet thinks about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And if that's positive, then it's going to sound positive. And if it's negative, then it's going to sound negative. So for instance, it could be like, hey, ChatGPT, if you use it as a kid and say, is democracy a good thing? And then ChatGPT, because there's, fucking people talking about democracy being a bad thing, right? Suddenly you're in this place where it's like, democracy is not really a good thing anymore because it bases it on all the internet, right? And the AI professor was like, that is scary because if you base your information on what the general things is the earth flat? Is religion real? Does God exist? All these kind of questions, no hard feelings. But, suddenly, yes, everyone believes God is real. Okay, if you take that for granted or whatever that is, whatever your information is.
That's a really interesting point, because you are, again, regurgitating what's out there. So if you...
Right now, it's just regurgitating. It's not...
It's not thinking. That's the thing.
It's stitching together. It's stitching together.
Yes.
It's past-looking, not forward-looking.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day it can be forward-looking, but I think we're a bit far off that to an extent.
Because again, it depends on... It will look forward based on what has happened previously.
Yeah.
So if you surround yourself with, I don't know, super far-right wing media and you have a chatbot that regurgitates those thoughts and kind of propels them into the... I don't know, that we are the makers of our own demise.
No, but exactly. It's a bit terrifying. I think it's that's essentially what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. And I think, again, we have to remind people that you still need to apply critical thought.
Yeah.
The washing away of critical thought, I think, is a very scary thing. And I think we're seeing it more and more.
Yeah.
This kind of appealing to a particular base or going with the flow instead of having the courage to say, actually, I think something different or, challenging existing thought.
Absolutely. I think it's from an investment perspective, I think this is a super interesting time to be alive. Yeah. It's one this is great. I fucking love it. It was so funny. I want to say 6 months ago, a year ago, everyone's like Web3 and NFT and crypto and blockchain. Yeah. And now everyone's like, okay, AI will blow this away. Yeah. And it is blowing this away. And I think it would all the other things were missing this use case.
Yeah.
Where it was well, how the fuck do I use blockchain? Show me. And there's so many people listening why don't you know that, Casper?
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Oh, look at this application that I built where it's super secure. But here, AI really showed here, okay, here's what it can do. And I think, I'm investing. If I were to invest my money, this is not investment advice, I would put all of it in AI right now. Fuck Tesla, fuck everything else. Just all in on AI.
We were having a little joke internally because we're looking at our pricing structure, and as a joke, we started throwing AI package, into just to use the word AI and be like, oh shit, we're not doing it. It was an internal joke of AI. But one thing that I thought was a very interesting point that was brought up. I was talking with someone who has a lawyer who recently used ChatGPT to look up case law about something specific, and it was something very niche of commercial law or something like that. and they got the whole law, they got the arguments for, they got everything they needed. And what the interesting thing that I think is very interesting is that originally when we learned about AI and what was possible, it was to replace the blue collar workers, called blue collar workers, right? It was self-driving cars and all that stuff. No, AI is coming for the white collar folks.
Yeah.
They're coming for the lawyers. They're coming for the accountants. They're coming for the people that essentially use what's already happened to make decisions.
Yes.
Instead of consulting a lawyer about this law, you can go to ChatGPT, find out the case law, find out how it's been applied, find out how other people have used it to win their cases, and you don't need a lawyer anymore. So I think that's really interesting. That is the plot twist that the people who were looking for AI were not expecting.
I think it's great.
And I think it's great. Level the playing field, man.
Yes, and people have always been scared if AI and stuff are going to take their jobs. I think it's going to create new jobs, because you're not like, then the lawyers who used to do this stuff, maybe they don't have to do this stuff anymore. Maybe they can focus their time on what the other stuff that really matters. And maybe we can weed out some of the lawyers who were not supposed to be lawyers or our feelings. The same with marketeers, right? Like content producers or me or marketing strategists or whatever. Maybe like, yeah, hey, I have this template for how I do marketing strategy every time. Okay, maybe that's not needed anymore.
Yeah.
Just get it here.
Yeah.
So the unique thinking gets more powerful. I think that's good.
Yeah. I think, it helps you stand out.
Helps you stand out.
And that was something we actually said with, the tracking.
Yeah.
When the tracking changes came, we said this is going to separate the good marketers from the bad.
Exactly.
We don't go, marketing's over. We go, okay, how do we work with this?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a tool. Use it. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, if you don't use it, you're going to be left behind. I'm a little bit harsh on this, because I'm like, if you don't, as a marketeer, start to adjust to this, you're going to lose out. Like, because other people will get better. And it's just like, just take me as an example. I'm not a content producer, but suddenly I can add content producer because I can get it to do 90% of the job, which is just coming up with some frame structure, and I can add my twist, which is my 10%.
Well, think of, like the people like yourself, the kind of one-person armies. You have to do everything.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to sit there and think about what content you want to write. You can have a content suggestion machine running.
Yes.
And then that can help you focus on...
I can facilitate so much now. It's so powerful.
But we're not suggesting content people get replaced because
we need them. Yeah, we need them. But we're just helping them get better.
Yeah, and the good ones are gonna thrive.
The good ones are gonna, and that's the thing. The good ones are gonna thrive. Yeah. If you're good and you take this in, God, you're gonna be powerful.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like good at content already, like both in producing written content but also video content, this is gonna make you insane. So. Take it for what it is. Yeah. Cool.
We're going to definitely talk about this again in another episode.
And then we talk about other tools. Now we talked about ChatGPT use cases. There's so many other tools. Jasper, Crisp, whatever. Synthesia, all these different cool tools. And we could talk ages about this. But let's round this off.
Yeah.
So starting point. Try it.
Embrace it. Yeah. Embrace the future.
It's here.
The future is now.
Bye.
Bye.